Alright, folks, this is Acid Roots. I'm going to review Alice Cooper's Trash album from 1989. So, as I was learning about this album, some of the stuff that, Wikipedia had to say about this project was this guy was the godfather of shock rap, and his showmanship when on stage is particularly good, and he knows how to be a real kind of terror on stage and stuff. And so I didn't have, obviously me being used to Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, some more, Orgy, some of these type folks, Slipknot, Korn. I mean, I thought as if, maybe seeing the generation before the Generation X stuff wouldn't be too terrible to try out. So I did, and it was interesting. That's the thing. I mean, the thing about the '80s though is it wasn't so much industrial metal. It was kind of more glam and just different type of rock. I mean, hard rock was different back then. You had your power ballads that do pretty well on the radio most of the time, but then you also had like just hard rock numbers that you may hear at like some sort of bar or country club or something like that. And but then you also had, I don't know entirely everything about like '80s rock, but I do know that glam metal was a part of it. I was kind of almost halfway introduced to it last year when I started messing with Guns N' Roses, especially their Appetite for Destruction album. But I mean, it just has been off and on. I mean, I wasn't here that much in 2018, but I did buy like a handful of rock records. Like I got House of Pain, which is kind of rock rap, and Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses, and then like uh, there was another one. I almost got the Tool record. I was messing with Tool a little bit, and also Vanilla Ice, and he's kind of like a blend. I mean, even though he's rap, I mean, I feel like rock can appreciate him just as much just because it was simplistic. But yeah, I mean, with Alice Cooper, it was kind of the thing I was expecting by this was to almost think maybe it wouldn't be the ideal album just because obviously, I mean, he was in his 40s in the late 80s, so it was kind of, I mean, as far as that went, I needed to know that this wasn't going to be like he wasn't too old to kind of be able to know like the approaching styles of the stuff that, I call home, and just to some of the stuff I listened to. I mean, obviously it worked, but for folks who say, well, he's been here since the '60s, it has to make you wonder how many of the trends someone like this can keep up with. And I didn't really have a problem with it too much. A lot of folks said, and yeah, a lot of folks had said like, Power was kind of, or not Power, but Poison was his comeback song. Alice Cooper had he had a comeback tour a couple years before this album came out, put out a couple albums, but he had personal issues, and so he did a Nightmare Returns tour and wound up getting his buzz back and needed like a definitive album. So there's a lot of folks from the '80s who helped out. There are some guest vocals like Bon Jovi and Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, and Joan Jett wrote a song for this. But it's actually kind of closely associated with Bon Jovi, and I didn't have too much of a problem with that. I mean, I need to know about some of these guys more, but I guess we'll talk about like the comeback song Poison. So really this, I mean, if this is the song that you're going to get introduced to Alice Cooper over, which I've looked on Spotify and it basically designates it as his most popular song with over 100 million plays on Spotify. The thing about it is, it doesn't have the best riff. It really feels just like a stadium song. It's like if you go to an Alice Cooper show, you could basically be expecting to hear this song almost. It just feels ready for a stage. Not every song in rock feels that way. I like, for example, Tourniquet, by Marilyn Manson almost wouldn't feel like stage ready, but you know, obviously certain rock musicians know how to do that. Metallica, who I've listened to, does that, and there's like a couple other cats like AC/DC knew how to do that also. Guns N' Roses, obviously, but the bigger the rock band, the more you know they're known to just draw like crowds of people trying to listen to those types of songs. So yeah, Alice Cooper with his experience was able to do that. But I mean, really, this album isn't much for like the gnarly riffs and like the vicious rock music. It really is kind of, it's almost like a halfway hard rock album. But the best riff I thought for like guitar wise on here was the Spark in the Dark song. That one had the best one. And House of Fire was kind of close, but then the thing about that was it kind of just it starts getting a little bit more laid back. But you know, Bed of Nails is another one. You know, this 10-song album, it also has some power ballads, which I'm not. I mean, really, I would have guessed that Alice Cooper could have done some power ballads, but I kind of felt like, you know, I think Metallica is kind of, in my eyes, better at doing power ballads. But I may need to get used to them. I think I like Hell is Living Without You more than Only My Heart Talking, but those were the two ones that did that. And obviously, like a power ballad is like a more relaxed form, you know, for those who just are kind of, you know, just depending upon what you think of that. I've seen a power ballad as, you know, just like a stronger version of like a stadium number, just something that wants to get you singing along, but is also like melodic. So obviously the stadium song like Poison doesn't feel like a power ballad, but you know, this is kind of like a lighter version. So, but there isn't another song like Poison. That's kind of the thing. I mean, Bed of Nails is kind of close, but it just isn't as powerful. And you know, it just has like a mismatch. It does have a couple weaker songs in there, but I mean, really, I mean, the song was trying to be powerful. I mean, or this album was trying to be powerful. That's the thing about it. Was just coming from like the angle that it did. I mean, 10 songs. You get, you know, you have all these guests and writers on there. There's like someone called like Desmond, something, Desmond Child on here who had written or helped with a lot of hit songs in the 80s. Alice Cooper got one of his old guitarists to do one of the better songs on here. You know, the 80s female rocker Joan Jett was, you know, she wrote a song. So, yeah, I mean, obviously there was some stuff. There's more guests on here than just the ones I'm listing, but those are the ones I'm familiar with. So, yeah, it's big enough, but it wasn't quite. I mean, the main thing is I'm gonna give this album like a 4.5 out of 10, just because I liked 4 songs, and I'll tell you what those are so we can get to it. The 4 songs that I recommend would be Poison. The first 3 songs: Poison, Spark in the Dark, House of Fire, and then Bed of Nails. And I guess how I would recommend these, I mean, obviously Poison is the most popular song on here, but it does not, like I was saying, it's not the most vicious rock song. So that's the thing about it. It just is kind of something, if you're wanting to go out with music and have some agenda in a more social format, it's probably the better song for you. But I think Spark in the Dark is better, just in terms of this kind of chillaxing and that sort of thing. It is, that seemed to me to be the better song. House of Fire kind of felt like something you'd hear on the radio. I mean, I haven't heard Alice Cooper on the radio that much. I mean, obviously, we're probably 30 years removed from actually hearing him, but that was released as a single and it did chart. So I kind of thought, yeah, that was a good one. But Bed of Nails probably needed to be like the other one that should have charted, because it was only released like in Europe or, you know, places that weren't the United States. But I'm trying to think of which one was the better song. I think House of Fire maybe, I don't know. I mean, House of Fire and Bed of Nails are both basically good, but those are like the radio songs. You know, if you're looking for more of like a Rob Zombie and kind of Metallica type feel. That's kind of what you would wind up getting there. But I mean, they're just, I guess, getting 4 songs out of 10. I mean, obviously the power ballads, but I was trying to like the song Trash. I wasn't able to quite do that fully. And, you know, like, really, I'd suppose there had to be album cuts on here that just didn't quite, probably were not intended to be performed, judging by how many songs he had. But yeah, I mean, I was looking for more songs like Spark in the Dark. That was like the main thing. It's more riff friendly songs, more catchy kind of, this in terms of the instruments kind of gets in your head more. I mean, I know the vocals could do it and the songwriting could do it, but I wanted to see more like guitar work and stuff. That was kind of my complaint. But I mean, obviously, these guys know how to do it. I mean, obviously, if you are a fan of power ballads, there are 2 big ones on here, one of which was a single, which was Only My Heart Talking. Uh, I just think I've seen better power ballads, That's kind of the main thing to it. It's not, these, I didn't think that these would necessarily blow you away, but, so, but yeah, I mean, obviously Poison being the big song, and this is kind of, uh, yeah, that's the thing, is it's basically intended for concerts. So, but yeah, there just isn't another song like that. I mean, I would have liked to have seen. I mean, because obviously it charted. I looked on the charts; it charted pretty high in the United States, but obviously, if he probably would have had a second and third song that would have gotten to that, status, I probably would have said that he might have had a larger comeback. I don't really know, just because it was a pretty long time ago, and it's interesting to see how long he lasted. Because, I mean, obviously, by the time we got to folks like, 9 Inch Nails and White Zombie and Metallica getting further, and some of these folks that were there in like the early 90s and stuff, Tool and some of them, I mean, it just seemed like there wasn't room for Alice Cooper. But obviously this was a pretty good release, so I think I'm thinking almost of purchasing this project. I would definitely have to say, it's worthwhile to do. But I mean, really, it just left me kind of, you know hungry. That's the thing. That was the main. It's not so much that this record is bad; it just left me hungry. I mean, maybe were it to have 12 songs and had an extra one, but they just needed to have, like, I mean, the 3 singles that were there, it was just like you get one of each format: a stadium song, a radio song, a power ballad. But there needed to be more to it, just to be able to back each one up. That was just kind of the main thing. So it just left me hungry and stuff. But this is kind of the main thing to it. So, I mean, obviously you got it, but I guess Alice Cooper did have quite a few albums by this point. So it's kind of half complaint, but I would just have to explore his, discography more to see what's up with that. But yeah, I give this album a 4 out of 10. I'd probably give it like a 5 social, just because it did have a pretty strong hit single. But I mean, the other 2 singles just kind of came and went, it seemed like. I mean, I guess there were 4 singles, but one wasn't released in America, which is where he's from. So just kind of, yeah. So yeah, I get, so 5 social. I would recommend this album. I think Alice Cooper dropped an album either in 2017 or 2018, but he has done industrial metal, which I was kind of wanting to see him do, like some of Marilyn Manson's style of music and stuff, just to see how he could handle that, or his take on it rather. But this makes me interested, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, I would probably say the first song to start with would be House of Fire and Spark of the Dark. Those are probably more, you know, for folks in their early 30s and stuff, late 20s, that would probably be, what to go for. But yeah, power to Alice Cooper.